Gentlemen, Mr. Urrutia here. I'm going to go over the Unit 3, Lesson 3, practice problem number 1. All right. Okay, so let's first read the problem. Here is a graph of the proportional relationship between calories and grams of fish. Part A says write an equation that reflects this relationship using X to represent the amount of fish in grams and Y to represent the number of calories. Okay, so important things here. This is a proportional relationship. So because it is a proportional relationship, that means that we're going to have a unit rate. We're going to have a constant of proportionality. The other parts here I'm going to underline and highlight here in the part A. It says X to represent the amount of fish in grams. And if you notice here on the graph, the X axis is the amount of fish in grams. The Y-axis, it tells us here, right? Y to represent the number of calories. So this is the Y-axis, which is the number of calories. Now, if you notice here on the left, I have this equation, Y equals KX. This is always the equation for when you have a proportion, where K is the constant of proportionality or the unit rate. So that's what K is. K is the constant of proportionality. Okay, so what we need to do is find that constant of proportionality, then we'll know what the equation is when we know the constant. Okay, so on our graph, notice I have different points here, right? I have points that I know for sure, right here, right here, right here. So I have X and Y. For the constant, to find what the constant is, it is always Y over X. So in these points that I have, I'm going to do, you can do it for either one and you'll get the same thing. So Y over X, here the Y is 150 and the X is 100. I wrote these backwards. So it should be 100, 150. This point is 300. 200 is X, 300 is Y. So I can take any one of these ratios and write it in this fraction here. 150 over 100, which is going to be 1.5. So this is the constant. So now the equation, I'm going to use that. My equation here is Y equals 1.5 times X. Okay. Now for the part B, for the table, you use a constant to find the numbers on the table. What does the constant mean? It means what numbers multiply this way. So in our table here, to find when I have the grams of fish, to find the number of calories, I multiply by 1.5, by 1.5. That's what this equation says. That's what the graph is showing, right? 100 times 1.5 is 150. 200 times 1.5 is 300. 300 times 1.5 is 450. That's what this equation says. That's what I'm going to do to fill in the table. So right here, I'm going to do, for this one, I'm just going to write it out here, 1,000 times 1.5, 1,500. Okay. The K, I'm going to do the last row here. 1 is 1.5. This one is also the unit rate. The row with 1 is also the constant of proportionality. Okay. Now for the middle row here, what am I going to do? I need to think what number times 1.5 will be equal to 2001. So I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to divide 2001 divided by 1.5. Okay, I do the division and I get 1,334. All right, just remembering the constant, the unit rate, how you can see it in the graph is by taking the numbers here and dividing. Once you know that number, then you can just multiply that to find the missing numbers in the table. All right. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.